everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I was sent a copy of Mesozooic, a dinosaur zoo building game for 2 to 6 players using drafting and a little slide puzzle mechanic, and it's in real time by Z-Man Games. You think you can build a dinosaur zoo better than, well, the others we have seen? We have learned our lessons and know that dinosaurs are just that, dinosaurs, and safety is our #1 concern. Well, in Mesozooic, players will be drafting cards in one of the phases of the game and deciding what type of attractions that they want in their zoo, and then in the second phase, they will be moving their cards around, designing their zoo in hopes to score the most points with the cards that they drafted. So you'll play 3 rounds of the game, with each round having 2 phases, a draft phase, and then a building phase that includes a sliding puzzle, more of that here to come. But in the 3 phases, they will each play very similar to each other. You're just drafting different cards each round. To set up, you'll place the sand timer and the score pad nearby. Each player will take a reference card and a director card of their choosing. Depending on the chosen directors chosen in the game, you will use only the dinosaur cards with those colored icons on the bottom left in the game. So if I'm green, we will include all the green dino cards. Another player is red, then we will include all those as well. And the last player is purple, so we'll put all those purple ones in. In addition to those cards, you will then add the neutral cards in, as they are used in every game, except if you decide to play the advanced rules, where you will take out all the neutral cards and then you will use the advanced cards instead. Now, the colored dino icon on the bottom left only matters when organizing which cards you're using in the game, but during play they have no significance and you can use whichever cards you would like. So you will take all these cards that you've collected and you'll shuffle them all together, and 11 cards are dealt out to each player. The remaining cards are then placed to the side. Players will then look at their cards and they will decide on 2 cards to keep for their dino zoo. They will then pass the remaining to the left and receive some new cards to the right again, and they will pick 2 as well. Players keep drafting 2 cards at a time until they have 11 cards. The last round of the draft, you will keep 1. You have now collected all the attractions and all the things you want in your dino zoo. So the next phase starts as you will shuffle these 11 cards that you drafted. Randomly, you will flip them over as if you were making a 4x3 grid from left to right, starting on the top row. The bottom right space will be left empty, and there is a reason for this, and that reason is you will be performing a slide puzzle, rearranging your cards in the way that you would like your zoo to look, or rearranging them to score more points connecting certain cards. Doing this will cause the empty space to move all over. Players will have 45 seconds using a sand timer to slide their cards around to line up features to score points. Before the sliding begins, players are encouraged to look over their cards and make somewhat of a plan. When all players are ready, you will flip over the sand timer and then start rearranging your cards. Oh yeah, and you can only use one hand to do this. Cards can be slid quickly as possible and as many times as the sand timer will allow you to. You will always need to stay in the confines of a 4x3 grid that you made at the beginning without moving any of the cards outside of it. When the sand timer runs out, everyone stops moving their cards. It's now time to score your dino zoo. Players will place their director card in the empty space in the zoo, and you will now score points on how well you rearranged and combined the features in your zoo. You will use the score pad to keep track of your scores. Each feature scores differently, and some cards might even have 2 different features, with both scoring separately. If you enclose a herbivore or carnivore enclosure, then you will score 6 points for that. Attractions that are on one card will score when they're next to a truck, so for each attraction next to a truck it scores 2 points. Diagonally placed trucks to an attraction does not score points. You also can score multiple attractions if you have multiple trucks next to it. Monorail connections score 4 points for each connection, and topiaries score 1 point apiece for just being in your zoo. After you finished a round, you will then play another by keeping your director card, and you will shuffle all the remaining cards, and you'll go at it again. Watch me this time as I rearrange my drafted cards and see if I can make a Dino Zoo that scores mega points. Alright, here we go. Here's my Dino Zoo, so let's score it real quick. After playing through 3 rounds total, the game ends. Each player will drop the lowest score from the 3 and then add up their 2 highest scores. Whoever has the highest score wins the game. Of course, the game is quick and fun to play, but if you want to make things even better, you can add in the advanced cards while also removing these neutral cards. Gates score 3 points for each gate in the correct row. Blue gates need to be on the top row, and orange gates need to be on the bottom row. Gift shops score 4 points each when placed in one of the corner spaces. And the T-Rex scores 5 points each when it's in one of the central spaces of your zoo. The virtual reality simulator becomes an exact copy of one card next to it, and that card might score differently from the one it copied depending on the placement. Double enclosures let you score enclosures as normal, but by using less cards to do so. Now, it's very important that you remember how things score and make sure that everyone knows this before starting the draft, because they will need to know this information to know which cards that they would like to have in their Dino Zoo to score points. This will also help the players form a possible strategy. Many of the attractions, the exhibits, and transportation require a specific connection with the other cards to score points, so carefully select cards during the draft before other players draft the ones that you want. The game is a fast-paced game with a big focus on achieving a sliding puzzle. The draft adds a strategic nature in the game, but if you can't get those cards connected to each other to score the points, then the draft won't really matter. So you should draft cards knowing that you will need to connect certain cards with each other. If you know you aren't the best at slide puzzles, then the draft lets you choose the cards to place in your puzzle. So if you aren't that great, choose the cards that make it easier for your puzzle. Want to try to see if you can do something huge for your zoo? Then try to find the best combo of cards that will score you the most points, and then try to perform the puzzle, sliding those cards where they will do the best. The game has 2 mini expansions, adding in more cards. I have the Triassic expansion here to show you, but there is also a Jurassic expansion. Both adds new cards, changing up how you score points and how you would draft, changing the puzzle experience. You won't be mixing up these expansions with each other, as you will either play the basic, the advanced, the Triassic, or the Jurassic expansion. You will have more features to add in the game in this expansion, as well as a way to play it with up to 12 players. Let's go over some of these new cards. You've decided to add cafes to the zoo, giving a way to feed your guests, but guests have complained about needing a shady place to enjoy this food. So the cafes will score 2 points for each topiary that is orthogonal, that is left, right, up, and down from your cafe. The conservatory has roots, making it hard to move. If you don't move it during the sliding puzzle, then it will score 4 points. If you decide that you need to move it to make room for other features, then you will flip the card over, changing the card to a topiary, and scoring the card as such. This is the groundskeeper who makes the zoo look so beautiful. If there is any card that has no function or not scoring any points, like an incomplete enclosure, or a random monorail not connected to another, or even an attraction with no truck nearby, then you can flip all those cards not scoring any points to the back side, making it a topiary to score at least 1 point each, but also possibly scoring more if it's next to one of those cafes. Now, to play the Mesozooic version, you will actually need 2 copies of the base game combined with this expansion. Then you will place the number of expansion cards shown on this card to make a big game. I wish the icons were different from the expansions versus the advanced cards, but a look at the scoring cards makes it easy to know which cards are used for each type of game. Really, what this game comes down to is drafting and the sliding puzzle. If you don't like sliding puzzle, this game is not going to be for you, but it is a fun experience to be able to choose which cards that you want in your zoo and then try to perform the puzzle the best you can to score the most points. So get ready to plan your Dino Zoo, sliding your cards to form points in Mesozooic by Z-Man Games. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.